All right, good morning. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the French Restoration period of furniture design. This is going to be a period or a design of furniture that's popular from 1815 to 1830 in France. So why is this going to become popular? So it's going to become popular specifically in France from 1815 to 1830, and it is going to be a reaction to the excesses of the Napoleonic era. So, as I'm sure you remember from your world history class, after the French Revolution, Napoleon comes along and declares himself emperor. And as emperor, he is very lavish, loved the grandeur. So this is exemplified by this image of his bedroom here. So we can see very ornate finishes, lots of gold, this very plush, rich green. The canopy above the bed we can see is very ornate. And there's just kind of a lot of stuff. And when we look at the furniture, it also looks very heavy, right? In this particular image, the woods are a little bit lighter, but Napoleonic or Empire furniture is generally going to have some darker type of furniture. Another reason why the Restoration style is going to become its own kind of distinct thing is that during the French Revolution, the aristocrats were forced to flee France. And when they did, their homes and their furniture inside the homes were confiscated and usually either sold or destroyed. So after the fall of Napoleon, when the aristocrats return to France, they find that their homes are basically empty. So they are going to need a lot of furniture pretty quickly, and they don't want it to be these big, heavy, more Baroque style pieces. They need something that they can get in quickly. And the French Restoration style is going to help them do that. So, one quick note that I want to make here is that the French Restoration style should not be confused with the English Restoration style. The English Restoration style is going to be popular in England from the 1660s to the 1680s. So, quite a while before the French Restoration, but it's going to be about the same thing. It's why they're both called the Restoration, because it's about the restoration of the king. So in the English Restoration period, that style is going to be a reaction to the really harsh Puritan style that was very plain, non-ornamental. And when Charles returns to the throne in England, there's going to be this return to this very ornate, styled furniture, as we can see here in this table and lamp, or I'm sorry, candle holder set. So very dark wood, heavy, ornate, lots of decoration, not that Puritan style. So English Restoration furniture is very different from French Restoration furniture, but they are both reactions to the restoration of the monarchy after a revolution. So the monarchy that's going to be returning in the the French Restoration is the Bourbon monarchy. So Bourbon is the last name of the kings of that family. So Louis the 16th is going to be deposed and beheaded along with his wife Marie Antoinette during the French Revolution. And for the Bourbon Restoration, his brother Louis the 18th, pictured here, is going to return. So again, the French Restoration is a reaction against the excesses of the Napoleonic era. So on the left, we've got this painting of Napoleon himself crowning Josephine, the empress, which was a highly unusual thing and very indicative of how highly Napoleon thought of himself. So very the Napoleonic era characterized by rich fabrics, gold ornamentation, just very, very extra. And so the French Restoration period is going to kind of get away from that, want to get away from that. Designers for the French Restoration period, people who had a lot of influence in it. The first one is going to be Marguerite de Valois, the Duchess of Berry. She's going to be kind of one of the pioneers of this movement, and she is going to decorate her home in this style, and then it's going to become more popular throughout France after that. So what we have here in the middle is an example of her dressing table. Now, of course, to us, this still seems very, very ornate, but in comparison to the Napoleonic era, it's visually much lighter. The crystal helps accomplish that on the table legs and on these right here holding up the mirror. Lighter wood, lighter fabrics, more delicate lines. We can see some of the curvature here. It's not as bold. It's much more of a feminine look, but it's also very simplified. We can also see some of this over here in her bed. So we still have, kind of a fancy canopy style bed, but we see that there's much lighter wood. So the wood is lighter in color. It's also lighter in construction. So this bed is not going to be as heavy as that Napoleonic bed that we saw there earlier. Colors that are going to be popular during the French Restoration are going to be returns to the monarchical blues and purples and golds, as opposed to the green that was favored under the Napoleonic era. Another designer from this period is going to be Francois Baudry. So this is a painting of Francois Baudry actually receiving a bronze medal from Charles X, who's going to succeed Louis XVIII as king. Charles X actually presents Francois Baudry with this bronze medal for the design of this chair right here. Gondola armchairs are going to become popular during the French Restoration period because they are, one, light to move. They are easy to just pick up and move, because the French Restoration period is going to focus on conversation, comfort, coziness. So we can see in both of these chairs much thicker padding than you would have seen during the Empire period. There is still some ornamentation, but it's much more simple. It focuses more on floral designs, cornucopias, just things of natural abundance rather than sort of like artificial, gold inlays and those kinds of things. Gondola chair is in the French Restoration is going to have these curved armrests, again, to make it comfortable to have a conversation. You can just sit back and you can just chat. This isn't just another example. We can see in both of them those lighter woods. These are not heavy, imposing pieces. The chair legs are, particularly here in the back, you can see how they kind of like flare backwards in both of them. And then in the front, they're just kind of like simple, more curved. Additional characteristics of the French Restoration style. Again, we're going to see that lighter wood. We see those here in both of these chests of drawers. Lighter wood, simpler construction. You can put these together pretty quickly. In comparison to more of the heavier Baroque styles of furniture. We're going to see more of like this tone on tone, sort of like brass embellishment. That's not going to be as starkly contrasty as it was in the Baroque period. Color schemes, again, we talked about that royal blues and purples and golds. In terms of marble or stone countertops, it's going to be more whites and pale grays. So we can kind of see that a little bit here in the marble top on this table. And again, we're seeing that very simple curved line, not a lot of carving, embellishment, and ornamentation on this piece. Very easy to just pick up and move around. Same here with this chest. And then here in the center, we do have the bed of Charles X. So this is obviously going to be much more lavish and ornate than the other pieces that surround it, but this is also the bed of the king. And when we contrast it to the bed of Napoleon, we can see it's still got that curtain canopy, very ornate carving here on the headboard, but overall, it is a much less imposing piece. It is far more open. The color scheme is lighter. It's just going to be, by their standards, much simpler than the Empire period before it. The French Restoration period is going to come to an end in the 1830s, or in about 1830, when Napoleon actually returns to the throne. So the French had a heck of a time there in the middle of the 18th century. So Napoleon is going to return. There's also going to be this romanticism for the medieval period, and you can really see that in these two types of chairs called cathedral chairs. And they're called cathedral chairs because, as you can see, the back is really reminiscent of a cathedral. So it's got this tall type of spire, very ornate, the golds, the blues. This particular chair is going to be from the Louis Philippe style after the second fall of Napoleon, but before. Another monarchy comes along. So this is that a return to that darker wood, that very rich brass ornamentation. As a result of that, less, just much more ornate, but we're keeping some of the restoration elements, such as that focus on comfort with this very comfortably padded chair. And this piece of furniture is also still lighter. So this is not a super heavy Baroque piece of furniture. You could move this around much more easily. So that is going to be the French Restoration style of furniture that's popular between 1815 and 1830 in France.